Word number 3, found in the book of John, chapter 19, verses 26 and 27. When Jesus therefore saw his mother and the disciple whom he loved standing by, he said to his mother, "Woman, behold your son." Then he said to the disciple, "Behold your mother." And from that hour, that disciple took her into his own home. Jesus hanging on the cross in the throes of death. It wouldn't be much longer now. But in the middle of all of that, he looked down, he saw his mother. And he made provision for her. Jesus' mother, Mary, we first meet her in the scriptures as a young woman from the hill country of Galilee. She is godly, and she seems very ordinary to everybody else, but the Lord knows that there's something special about her. And so the angel comes and says, "You are going to be the one who will bear the chosen one." She's shocked, of course, and it presents a real dilemma. She's engaged to the local carpenter, Joseph. How will it look? And how will she explain this to Joseph, by the way, when she comes up pregnant? She's never been with a man. And she tells Joseph, well, God did it. But she's willing to do what God wants her to do despite the consequences. And you know the story. Joseph accepts what she says because an angel comes and tells him that she is indeed carrying a holy child. And they love this baby. They take care of him, and he grows up and he becomes very close to his mother. In fact, at his very first miracle recorded in his public ministry, Jesus is urged to change the water into wine by his mother, who says, they have a need and perhaps you can do something about it. All through his life, his mother is close around. And here at the end of his earthly existence, his mother is there. And he looks down at her and he pities her. My late mother-in-law used to have a saying. She said, mothers are the kind of people who will be the first one at your cradle and the last one at your grave. And there was this mother who was the first one at his cradle, who indeed was there watching him die. But Jesus couldn't let her go without making provisions for her, because in that society, if a woman didn't have a husband or a father or a son or some kind of male protector to care for her, she was at the mercy of anybody and everybody, because there were no professions that women could go into that were legal, or at least very few. And so he looked out for his mother even in his dying moments. I think that says something to each one of us about the responsibility that we have for those who are our parents, who raised us, who looked after us. There are people in these times who struggle as to what to do with their older relatives. Sometimes people say, well, I will care for my loved one as long as I can. And they do. There are some who are forced because of various situations to put their loved ones in a facility that can provide more intensive care than they can. But whatever the situation, all of us have a responsibility to look after those who once looked after us. And Jesus set an example for all of us. He could not die until he had made provisions for his mother to live. And so he puts her in the hands of the disciple whom he loves, who we know as John, who refers to himself as the disciple that Jesus loved. He knew that John would look after her. And so he says, woman, this is your son now. He will replace me as your earthly son. And John, this is your mother. Look after her. And the word says that from that moment on, Mary became a beloved member of John's own household. How beautiful an expression that is, that reminds us that Jesus cared for everybody, and particularly for senior citizens. Sometimes when we look at ourselves, when we look at our society, we say, who cares for the people who have borne the battle and the struggle in the heat of the day? And Jesus says, God cares. I care. And by the way, if you are a son or a daughter, a niece or a nephew, if you have an older person who needs your help, you should care too. Jesus said, woman, behold your son. And he says to John, behold your mother. Because Jesus would not die until his mother was properly cared for.